Yes, you won't believe how much I read it in family sessions,
Mm.
and the parents walk away being like, wow, I've never looked at it that way. That actually helps me contain and understand my anger in the most simplistic form.
Hello, and welcome to Meet the Author. I'm Derek Cash with the North Little Rock Public Library System. Joining us today is registered play therapist and licensed certified social worker, Katie Walker, to discuss her children's book, Alice and the Anger Sandwich. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. Before I even begin, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, as you said, I'm a therapist. I specialize in mainly kids. I do see some adults. I have been a therapist for about 13 years now. I own Indigo Counseling in North Little Rock. On
Okay.
the side, I love writing books. And actually, in my personal life, I have a strange hobby. I rescue mini pigs, as in MINI pigs. So, I just do a lot of different things.
That is I've never heard of anyone with a hobby like that. And so I just say as an observation, how unique. Yeah.
Yes.
I can only imagine there aren't that many around. Otherwise, we would have heard of it a little bit more often. Yeah.
That's what I thought. There are actually a lot more once I started realizing it, but
Okay.
yeah, it's not awful, not as much as dogs and
Okay.
cats, but there are quite a few.
Okay. All right. Okay. Um, what made you write this book, this Alice and the Anger Sandwich?
So, Alice and the Anger Sandwich was my first book, and it came from a place that was super personal to me. I
Okay.
was a kid who grew up and was labeled as having anger problems, and I don't recall anyone ever sitting alongside of me to figure out why I had anger problems, right? It was just calm down. Why are you so angry? And so this came from a place of feeling so misunderstood as a child and then becoming a therapist, seeing that there were kids in my shoes who felt the same way. And I thought, how can I get this message out to, since I can't be every child's therapist, how can I spread this message? And that's when I decided to write a book.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because I'm not against I'm not against giving medicine to people. But the way you said it made me think, hey, if we can get you to solve your or minimize them, then we don't have to prescribe medicine, which in a way becomes addictive or lifelong. You never learn. We'll just take medicine. So I'm so glad you took I don't know what the expression was, organic method of trying. Let's see if we can solve it this way. So thank you for that. If for anything, for all those parents out there who don't want to subscribe to a medicine. Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is something I'm very passionate about. I will definitely recommend kids for medicine, but my first and foremost approach is let's figure out this problem and dig as deep as we can before we go that route.
Okay. Yeah. You know, something I noticed about your book is that it's I said in the introduction it's a child's book, but this is as much a adult's book because I was just thinking parents would want to read this to know, oh, this is how I can maybe address this issue with my child, not to become the expert therapist, but it could work both ways. Did you intentionally mean it that way?
I
Okay.
did. You actually figured out my secret. I tell people I wrote this book way more actually for the parents
Uh-huh.
than for the kids, which is why I use bigger vocabulary in it. One, the bigger vocabulary is for adults. Two, I think it has people be like, wait, what? Let's dig into this a little bit more and open up conversation. So I absolutely did write it for parents
Mhm.
in hopes that that transforms their own way of thinking if they have like they struggle with controlling their anger.
Well, it as I when I finished the book, I thought, this is the kind of book, if you got a parent, mother or father, or both parents, let's sit down with our child and read the book out loud together and then get them to think, ask the child, what do you think? And how do you feel? That sort of thing. And so it could, and then the child may say things, oh, Alice got angry. Oh, and they can bring up things that they might not bring up if you just ask, think about it. And so I thought it was a great therapy book for the whole family, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you won't believe how much I read it in family sessions,
Mm.
that and the parents walk away being like, wow, I've never looked at it that way. That actually helps me contain and understand my anger in the most simplistic form.
Mm. Mm. I do have a term I want to ask you. Anger sandwich. Is that a clinical term or is that just something that you made up on your own?
Something I completely made up. When I was
Uh-huh.
going into it, I was trying to think what are things that cover. I actually started, and I mentioned it in the book. It started as the book was going to be a mask of some sort, but then you can't really dive into a mask and peel back the layers, and an onion wasn't as fun. So I kept going around and somehow came up with a sandwich, which then I love because I actually make little sandwiches with my clients and send it home in a Ziploc baggie. So
Oh,
I make little paper sandwiches. So I wanted an idea that was easy, a little funny, but also would be a great craft.
well, you are right there. It's an easy term to remember. And then also, if someone asks, let's say me or anyone else, the person on the street, what is an anger sandwich? I can describe it so much easier because it is such an easy term and you do such a good job in simplistic terms to describe it. And so it's just all around. You have hit it spot on. And so congratulations to you and to anyone who gets to read it. You just did a great job. And so I'm so glad that that's why, how you got it. Yes.
Thank you so much. I really
And,
do appreciate
uh-huh.
that. That is what I was going for.
Okay. I do have a question about the book itself. I think the drawings in this book are fantastic. Did you do the drawings or did you hire someone? Did you get someone? They're just beautiful. They look professional, is what I want to say, as opposed to amateurish. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I did hire. So I wanted to do them originally myself, but got a little bit nervous.
Hmm.
Knew that I would critique myself a little too hard and I probably would never. So I wanted to use someone local. Unfortunately, that I wasn't able to because the wait list and the price were out of, it was a long wait and then the price was out of my budget since this is more of a passion project than something I'm going to retire on. And so I ended up finding an online person to do them for me, and they definitely did a great job.
Okay. Well, I say that because, like I say, as you flip through it, I mean, it just the font is easy to read, and just the pictures are so beautiful. They're appropriate for for the text, and so it's just you just did a great, marvelous job. That if I were seeing this on a in a library or in a bookstore, I don't know how you sell it, but we'll get to that later. Um, hey, I want to read this because it's appealing. And so you've done all around a great job. And so congratulations on that. Yes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Katie, let me ask you another question. Have you got other books in the works?
I do. I actually have three other books out.
Oh, could you tell us a little bit about them? Uh-huh.
I do. So Alice in the Anger Sandwich was the first. The
Uh-huh.
second is David and the Dandelion Thoughts, and its focus is on intrusive thoughts and anxiety and how kind of like think a dandelion. If you picked up and blew a dandelion, those seeds would go everywhere and create more dandelions. And so the thought is if we entertain these anxious thoughts, it's going to grow more seeds and more. And so it teaches you how to ignore the dandelions to let them wither away and die, and how the focus is growing a flower garden in our brain and watching out for weeds. My third one is Cora and the Coping Skill Umbrella, and this one is focused on sadness and also grief. And it talks about how we can never stop when the storm comes. We can't control the hard things that happen in life, but we can be equipped with an umbrella. And what that umbrella is comprised of several six coping skills, and how we can't just have one coping skill in our tool bag because just like an umbrella with one little triangle wouldn't be effective, we have to have several. So throughout that, you learn how to make your own umbrella. And then my fourth one is Mitchell and the Magnifying Mind. It is another type of anxiety, but it's more of how we magnify our thoughts, and it's catastrophic thinking. And so how it reaches those kids who see an incident but make it bigger in their head and then have anxiety because of that. So it teaches them how to view things through a lens, a more correct perspective than an exaggerated one.
Well, it sounds like you've done a great job, a very thorough job of looking at different, I want to say, issues, problems that children may be going through and how to how to handle them, how to address them, that sort of thing. Something about your book, though, I want to qualify that. It makes it say by my saying though, like I'm a criticizer. I'm not criticizing. This book, I would say, is maybe for a third grade, maybe a fourth grade reader. Have you considered writing, or maybe some of the other books are, have you considered writing for books that are maybe 12, 13, 14-year olds? Because
I
I'm going
have.
to assume their issues, they may be the same, but how they address them is going to be different because they're more mature.
Absolutely. So what I was have tried to do in that, the last book I wrote, it was actually a workbook, and I thought that might be more appealing to the older kids. Younger kids can absolutely do it, but it's called Wired, and it's a kid's guide to understanding how our brain is wired for safety, satisfaction, and success. And so I went at that because you're not going to see a kid, a middle school kid holding, a book that looks so kid in an anger sandwich. And so I made it more of a workbook because I know, especially when you get into that age with girls specifically, they like to do more journaling.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I went at it that way and created a workbook that they can go through. But ideally, I would love to figure out how to do books for younger kids, older kids. And my long term goal is I will write a parenting book for adults one day.
Yes, I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not in your field. So if I say anything that's incorrect, by all means, you can correct me. But I was just thinking that the younger that you can get a person, if they're just even while you're holding them and the way you address these issues, you can maybe prevent a lot of them from happening. And it's not necessarily the parent's fault, and it's not necessarily the child's fault. It's just no one has ever taught them. And so I think that idea that you've got is just brilliant because many children are going to fall through the cracks, and you've
Yes.
got to catch them any which way because the next thing you know, you may find them before a court hearing because they didn't control their anger, or a suicide because they just had so much anxiety. So comment if you
Absolutely.
can't. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That is the mission right there, which is why, I've actually donated a significant number of my books to local schools, as well as local schools have also bought, which I love because the younger you teach a child, right, the more successful they're going to be, which is why this book, like I said, is secretly for the parents. Because if the parent can hear it, even before they have children, like maybe one of those school teachers receives it as a gift and she reads it to her class and then thinks, wow, I struggle with this. Now I know how to reframe. And so then she starts doing self work until she has possible children of her own. So the idea is just to continue to have this trickle down effect to teach, honestly, a community, which then spreads throughout.
All right. Katie, is there anything I have not asked you or commented on that you would like to bring up about the book?
Not that I can think of. You've hit on pretty much all of my passions for it.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious, out of curiosity, what is your favorite kind of sandwich at a delicatessen?
Oh, I'm actually a really picky eater. And so when I make this, my sandwiches, I only do like ham and cheese. And so
Oh,
I joke with my clients all the time when we make these because we'll put lettuce and stuff, and the clients are like, I don't like lettuce. I don't want it on my paper sandwich. And I'm like, me either, but we're gonna put lettuce and tomatoes.
well, if anyone should ask, I like tuna and cheese, or tuna and ham. I love Subway sandwiches. I'm not
Yes.
putting a plug for Subway, but I do like their sandwiches. And so I was just thinking about this sandwich, and just, yeah, because now we will hold this up, but as you can see, it looks like different colors. And so you can see the cheese, maybe in the lettuce and the tomato, that sort of thing. And so it just hit me, what kind of sandwich. And so I just segue into that. Uh, Katie, we want you to sell as many books as possible because I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert, but you deal with people. We see children in the library with that they're hurting, they're angry, and you're thinking, what is bothering you? Now, maybe it's something that's just one time only, and they'll go on their way, they'll get over it, and so you can't judge them just on one experience. But is there any social media that you're in? And if people want to buy a copy of your book, how can they buy it?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I do the majority of my sales are on Amazon. But to get to that, I have a page called on Facebook and Instagram called Grow and Guide Kids because the purpose is to reach the parents. So Grow and Guide Kids.
Yes, it's on the
Um,
cover. Yes.
oh, that's right. And
Yeah.
then on TikTok, I actually have a pretty good following on TikTok where I give out parenting advice, and that name is Running with Katie Walker, a little play on words. And so not only can you get them on Amazon, they are at the library for those to check out. A
Mhm.
lot of local schools have them in their library, as well as I offer them for sale actually at a discount in my physical office at Indigo Counseling in North Little Rock.
If you had to rewrite the book, would you change anything?
Yes, I would actually. If I had to go back, since I think now that it's been out and
Hmm.
I am passionate about it, but not
Yeah.
as passionate as Katie, who was writing it, I would make it a little shorter.
Ah, okay.
Um, as, as a therapist who reads it all the time to clients, I sit and think, oh my goodness, this author wrote the longest book. I'm not the author. So I would make it a hair shorter. And there are a few flaws within the uh, designs that I wish I would have caught, like embarrassed is spelled wrong, I believe, in one of the graphic designs, but I was too excited to get it out there. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so those are things I would make it a little shorter and make sure I double, triple checked all the designs before I put it out in the world.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up because it's not really, but you do bring up in the book, they're not numbered. Um, you say she wondered if the therapist would be an old lady with no teeth, or what if she had three eyes and looked like a dragon? Well, she doesn't have three eyes, she's got three heads. And so I thought, I wonder if
Yes.
that was a mistake or if it was an act. So, but I thought it's not worthy of bringing up, but only because you caught some mistakes. Yeah.
Yes. So actually that and I would change old lady because that came to my head.
Uh-huh.
And I don't ever want to take away from the older people who do therapy. And
I
so I would
understand.
actually change that whole sentence. And so the original writing is correct that it was supposed to be a dragon with three eyes, but I never even thought, once again, I was so excited. I feel like I was blinded by my
Uh-huh.
excitement until my good friends. And ironically, I sent this through 5 people I trusted very much, and not one person gave me notice any of this. And then, like my client, once it released, one of my clients who bought it right off the shelf came in and was like, "I feel like I can tell you this in honesty." And they showed me everything, and I was like, "Oh, I missed this because I was just too excited
Yeah.
to get it out there instead of
Uh-huh.
getting it right." I
Yeah.
actually do plan on doing a second edition and
Okay.
correcting this.
Okay. Well, that can happen. But now, unfortunately, it's going to be on YouTube forever. And people will
You're
want to look
right.
at the first edition. Can we get an autographed copy of that? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Katie, it has been a pleasure. You're a delightful person. And I'm just so pleased that you're here and pleased with the success of your book and that you wrote it and that you're continuing to write. So you have a great day. And I will conclude by saying thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in reading Alice and the Anger Sandwich, you can check it out from the library or purchase it wherever books are sold. Also, you can find more information at our website, nlrlibrary.org. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.